About a week or two ago, I made a video about the best assist that NetherRealm has ever made, and in the comments section, a lot of you drew my attention to how broken Zod's assist was. And you're definitely right, that assist was certainly something. However, as I dug a bit deeper and recalled all the crazy stuff Zod can do, it turns out this character himself was broken. Now of course he did get nerfed and some of the crazier stuff was taken away, but he's still a great character honestly. So in this video, we're gonna talk about how good Zod is now and also some of the broken stuff he had back in the day. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now if you ask me, General Zod was good at pretty much everything aside from maybe his basic movement speed. It's pretty terrible, but first and foremost this character was a zoner, even if he was good at everything. So for example, right away we have his sidearm. This thing hits high, but look how instant this is. Imagine this in a bad connection, or imagine just jumping. He can catch you on the way down with this thing. It starts up so fast and it travels really fast as well. And then if Zod wanted to amplify this thing, look at how much chip damage it does. Just look at that life bar melt on block. Just look at that. Look at all that block. I'm gonna do it twice just so you can see. Like look at all the block damage, my goodness. And just one more thing worth mentioning, the meter burn version is also plus on block. It's only +1, but even so, a projectile that's this fast is also plus on block. Now as you already saw, this does hit high, so thankfully you could duck under this and avoid being chipped out by this move. However, as you're gonna see later on, Zod had a way of forcing you to stand up and eat that chip damage. And next up we have the Kryptonite rifle. So this thing is actually very complicated. So for starters, it just fires a slow projectile that launches the opponent, and as you can see it hits mid, so you cannot duck under this thing. And then if you wanted to meter burn it, it shot out 3 different orbs, and with the correct spacing you could actually combo off of this. And then on top of that, the projectile had 3 different speeds, so by default it's about this fast, but if you hold it back you get a slower projectile, and from a distance that meant you could have more than one on screen at a time, so check that out. And then if you wanted to catch the opponent off guard, you could hold forward and you got a fast version. So of course if you constantly mix up which one you're doing, it can be very tricky for the opponent to make their way in. However, here's the really crazy stuff. So Zod could also fire this in the air, and at a casual level it's just some good zoning. He can fire one on the ground, jump, fire one in the air, and you're never quite sure where you should be on screen. He can kind of lame you out. However, in the hands of a skilled player, you could do this immediately after leaving the ground, and Zod himself recovers faster from the air version, which means you can do it over and over again and just fill the screen with these projectiles.
Well,
oh man.
And it begins.
It's over. No.
NRS, please.
Now I want to stress this was not easy to do whatsoever, but if you did master this dark art, it was very tough for the opponent to deal with.
This isn't injustice. This is Zodball.
It is an injustice, get it? Because the game's called Injustice.
And then if the air Kryptonite rifle landed, it would launch the opponent just like the grounded version. And this led to some pretty sick meterless combos. The only catch was you couldn't do the same projectile twice or the combo would drop. So for example, right here I'm doing the slow version and then the fast version. And then in the corner you could actually do all 3. The slow version, the fast version, the regular version, and then end the combo for some pretty good damage, especially for just 1 bar. However, we're still not done because Zod had one more projectile, his heat vision. This hits low and has different distances, so a far version and a very far version, and of course you have a close version as well. And since it did hit low, that made it a dirty mix-up, because right here this string ends in an overhead, but now it ends with heat vision. And sure, you could fuzzy guard it, but keep in mind online that was not the easiest thing to do, especially in this game because they did not have rollback. And then you also had strings like this. Second hit is an overhead, but now it's a low immediately. So once again, not easy to react to at all. And that's a big concern for the opponent because if you meter burn this, you get a full combo. And the damage isn't too bad, look at that, already 36%. And the heat vision could even combo from really far away. You might not get a full combo conversion, but you could always follow it up with something. And then finally, you could also charge the heat vision, and if you charged it down all the way, you would launch the opponent without having to spend any meter, and you got a full combo. And you might be wondering why that's a problem, because it's just a low, right? You can always just hold down the block, and no matter what, it's just going to be a low, so just hold block and wait for him to finish. Well, I think it's time we finally talk about about Zod's trait. So this move might be one of the dirtiest things that NetherRealm has ever created. Unlike Dexstar in Injustice 2, who follows Atrocitus around, this guy actually follows the opponent instead. So as you can see right now, I'm telling Superman to go all over the place, and it doesn't matter what he does, that Phantom is sticking to him like glue. And that's really scary because the Phantom can whack him at any point in time. I just press 4 and he whacks Superman right in the back of the head. So let's say, for example, Superman air dashes towards me. Bop, bop. That's a full combo conversion. Nothing hard about it. Or now let's say Superman wants to do his heat vision. Nope. And I get a full combo conversion. Basically, no matter where the opponent was on screen, this Phantom could hit them. Now, every now and then it did miss. Maybe the opponent moved too quickly or the Phantom was a bit too far behind, but 9 times out of 10, its attack would land. And keep in mind that this animation does not stop Zod from doing anything. I can attack, do projectiles, whatever I want, and I can still have the Phantom attack you the entire time. So for example, do you recall earlier when I told you these projectiles hit high? That is true, and you could duck under them, but now the Phantom's out, and you're afraid of his overhead because this thing holds you in place for a full combo. And as a result, once I summon this guy, I'm gonna fire projectiles and you're gonna be blocking high because you're scared of this overhead. It's downright instant. There is absolutely no way to react to it, and as a result, you're gonna stand up and eat all of this chip damage because that overhead is just too scary. And just like the Phantom's regular attack, the overhead could also catch the opponent right out of the sky. If they were doing pretty much anything, the Phantom grab could still catch them and hold them in place for a full combo. Or put simply, once Zod had the Phantom on screen, the opponent was afraid to do anything outside of block high, because if they went for anything at all, Zod could capitalize on the whack and get a full combo started. And that basically meant the opponent had to deal with Zod's mix-ups, his cross-ups, all of that stuff, and if any of that landed, the Phantom could also extend combos for you, which is awesome because you never had to spend any meter unless you wanted to. And honestly, even the chip this guy did was pretty bad, and since Zod had strings that were plus on block, he could just keep attacking you until the Phantom went away. And of course the Phantom only made his heat vision better too, because as we mentioned earlier, this hits low. However, one thing I intentionally left out is you can actually dash cancel out of this. And normally that's already good for some cheeky throw mix-ups. You can charge it, go forward, and then throw, and it's pretty tough to react to. However, once the Phantom was out, you had a legit 50-50 because once again, his grab hit overhead. So what this meant was you could do a combo, go into heat vision, dash forward, and then grab the player immediately. And I do mean instantly. The Phantom can grab the opponent the very first frame you dash. And then if the opponent thought the overhead was coming, you could just fully charge the heat vision instead, and as mentioned earlier, that leads to a full combo as well. Whenever you knocked the opponent down, you could go for the heat vision, dash forward and do an instant overhead, or just let the heat vision detonate and launch the opponent that way. Okay, but now it's time to talk about the dirty stuff. Once again, this got patched out, so thankfully you no longer have to worry about this stuff because it was a nightmare. So for starters, Zod had this move called the Zod Charge, named after himself. It was a fun way to end combos, and the animation was awesome if you meter burned it. Now unfortunately, it wasn't the best way to end combos, that was actually the Phantom Palm. However, what made the Zod Charge so amazing is that you can do it from the air, and before it got nerfed, the startup was 1 frame. Or in other words, if you were skilled enough to do this move instantly off the ground, it would come out in a single frame. Or in other words, it's completely unreactable and great for whiff punishing pretty much anything. And keep in mind, the version you're watching right now is after it was nerfed. It's currently 6 frames, and already it's extremely fast and almost impossible to react to, so now imagine it's 6 times faster at 1 frame. Yeah, this thing was nuts, so it makes sense they nerfed it. And then next up we have I always win. So this seems like a pretty innocent string. It hits twice and does start after a down 1, which is the fastest move for most characters, and it does lead to combos, so that's nice as well. But it's nothing we haven't seen so far in the game. A lot of characters can do this. However, what made this string extra dirty is that on airborne opponents, it left them in a hard knockdown state. And in case you don't know what that means, the opponent can't roll away, whether it's forward or backwards, and they're also left on the ground for a longer amount of time. Or in other words, Zod could do a combo and then end with this string into heat vision and fully charge it to detonate when you got up. Or since the opponent was left a lot closer before the nerf, Zod could even go for a cross-up shenanigan, and then perhaps worst of all, Zod could end the combo with down 1-2 and then summon the Phantom, and you had to deal with it, and he was also right in your face. So believe it or not, this string, I always win, was very aptly named because it gave Zod the upper hand in so many different ways, and pro players would always use this string to end combos if they didn't want to go for damage, because once again, it led to so many setups. In summary, Zod is one of the most broken zoners that NetherRealm has ever made, especially before they nerfed him. When he first came out, he was just dominating everywhere. He had crazy zoning, some really fun meterless combos, and an amazing trait that was super annoying to deal with. And then, even if you made your way through all of that, Zod also had a parry, you know, because reasons, and look how far away it puts you. You're almost at full screen, so once again having to deal with all of his zoning. Now this parry wasn't as fast as some of the others, but it's still 3 frames on startup, so almost instant and much faster than anything else in Mortal Kombat 11. Now some characters had 1 frame parries, but even so, 3 frames, not too bad, and if he did land it, once again you had to deal with all of his zoning and try to make your way back in. I'm sure there are plenty of players who wanted Zod in Injustice 2, but I honestly don't miss him because this character was one of the most broken zoners that NetherRealm has ever made. But please let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. How do you feel about Zod? And then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by suplexing that subscribe button? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.